Hello and welcome to episode 2 of Loosely Canon, where the lore is kinda optional. Today, I'm joined as always by Grimz,
Ah,
and we're covering, sort of, the lore of Bioshock, a game where goo grants powers and real gooners lie. So, Bioshock is a
fuck this
game.
bio.
Yeah, exactly. Bioshock takes place in the 60s. Literally, first thing you get, just in the middle of the ocean somewhere,
The
1960.
1860s? Oh.
1960s. 1960s. We're not going that far back. Only, 65 years. Boy, it makes me feel old. The game opens with
You're
a.
younger than me.
Ah, yes, because you're so old.
I
Have you been
am. I'm
grooming
in.
me?
Wait, what?
65 is not ancient, my guy. Just close to. So the game opens with a quick monologue where the protagonist, Jack, says, "My parents told me I was born to do great things, and they were right." And then the plane he is on fucking crashes, so I guess they weren't right. Because he nearly dies about 2 minutes into the game.
Nice.
So the opening is a plane crash into a fucking frozen ocean. Can I say fucking? I can. It is past a minute. We're good.
Nah, who cares?
And yeah, true.
We're
No
not
one
monetized
watches.
anyways.
Not monetized. I'm fine. Luckily, there is a lighthouse with stairs leading up to it to provide salvation. Everything around you is on fire. You can literally hear screams in the distance. It's a terrifying sight. You go into the lighthouse.
Sounds like a good time.
Oh, it's definitely a time. You go into the lighthouse, and door shuts behind you, and the lights turn on, and you see a statue. And I do happen to have some art of this statue. Would you like to see the art, Grimps?
Yes, always.
Big gold statue.
Yes. God bad.
Here's the actual one. It says no gods are king, only man.
Or does it say goo bad?
No, it says the actual statue says no gods or kings, only man. But there was no way I felt like handwriting all that in MS Paint. So God bad gets the same message again.
There's a text option in MS Paint.
I'm well aware. I used to use it for thumbnails. But I didn't feel like doing that, so God bad. As you head deeper into the lighthouse, there is what's known as a bathysphere, which is the only real area to go, because outside, there's no boat. It's just more cold. So you go into the bathysphere and you head on down, and you actually do get hit with a elevator advertisement for a product just called Incinerate, whatever in the fuck that is.
Ooh.
Yeah. And when you arrive in the hub, or hub, quote unquote, the kind of entry point,
Pornhub?
no, wrong hub. Much less interesting hub. It's just kind of an entry point for like people entering the city. Because now you are in Rapture. And it's really funny that the guy who made it, Andrew Ryan, named it Rapture. After, stating no gods or kings, only man. Rapture is supposed to be a city away from any religious influence, away from any political influence. It's supposed to be a self-contained, where a man makes a man, or a woman makes a woman, kind of city.
Interesting.
It is. It's a play on Ayn Rand's philosophy, if memory serves. And there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes, which we'll get into. But Andrew Ryan tried to make the city into the best place it could be, and it was a secret. They would send people out after like watching the outside world. They would watch the outside world. They would find people and be like, "Hey, do you want to come join our secret city where everyone can be anyone?" And people would be like, either yeah, that sounds dope, or they'd be like, no, and then they probably get killed or something because, they just found out about the secret city. Um, but we arrive in the city, this lovely city that, as on the way down after the ad, Andrew Ryan had a voiceover telling us how good the city was. There's no light, and a man gets gut in front of us, or gutted. And then whatever it is that gutted him freaks the fuck out and tries to break into the bathysphere, and then runs away. The city doesn't seem to be doing so well.
No, that sounds great.
Oh, it sounds
It's modern
lovely.
day America.
Just modern America. Man, we really do live in a society. And as you're sitting there, no other options, suddenly a voice rings out. And it says, "Would you kindly pick up that shortwave radio?" And there is, in fact, a little portable radio on the wall. You grab it. And this man is named Atlas. And he is the leader of the second biggest faction in Rapture, which is the gangsters. People theorize he's hired muscle, or he was hired muscle by the person who used to lead them, Andrew Ryan's big rival or whatever. And he tells us that since we're new to Rapture and we are basically influenceless, so to speak, like we don't have any ties to anyone else in the city, we are the best chance he has of getting his wife and kid out of the city. So he's counting on us. And we haven't even actually set foot in the city. We're still sitting in the bathysphere fucking shitting our pants. So managed to get the bathysphere open as we go along. The thing that attacked the bathysphere jumps out, and a turret comes down and shoots at it, and it fucks off. And Atlas advises that we arm ourselves and says, "Would you kindly find a crowbar or something, just something to use?" So you don't find a crowbar because that would be infringing on Half-Life, but you do find a pipe wrench.
Next best thing.
Next best thing. Pipe wrenches are fun. Favorite weapon in the game. Deals good damage consistently. It's just a nice little melee option. Where are you?
I like wrenching my pipe.
I'm sure you do, buddy. So a little further along, after dealing with a couple of the denizens, which I'll get into more of the denizens of Rapture called splicers a little later after I kind of explain some more of the stuff that's going on, because you gotta have a little understanding of what the fuck happened in this city that made everything go tits up. So a little further along, there's a busted fuse on the wall powering a door. And Atlas advises and goes, "Hey, you might be able to find a plasmid around there." And luckily there is one for Electrobolt. Now, about 5 or 6, I think, years prior to the events of Bioshock, the people of Rapture, while, reinforcing and building the city, they find this dumbass slug. This little fucking red slug thing. And that creates a type of genetic goo called Atom. And goo. It is literally just a little fucking red slime. And it allows you to rewrite humanity's genetic code. So naturally, that discovery did 2 things. It allowed anyone to be anyone, because you can now give yourself that perfect chiseled jawline, that perfect, pep in your step, whatever you want.
Hell yeah.
Including superpowers. But it also drove people insane because a lot of people couldn't actually handle the fun genetic augmentations that they were doing to themselves. And they became splicers, which is now 99.8% of the population of Rapture, because they killed 0.1, and the other 0.1 is you and a few others.
If I've learned anything from learning about Halo backstory stuff, genetic augmentation never goes well.
It really doesn't. It's like dime a dozen if it goes well. So, after doing that, you get Electrobolt, which allows you to, fire off a quick bolt of electricity, which in normal circumstances would allow you to just charge something small and electrical. But because you have enough mental prowess, you can actually use it as a fucking weapon and tase people from a distance. Just a good 10,000 volts to the system. And as you keep moving on, you learn more about plasmids. The plane that you crashed in falls into the city and nearly kills you a little more, literally.
Nice.
And Adam is restored, by the way, or the concentration, willpower, whatever you want to call it, your mana bar, is restored by a substance called Eve, even though this city is supposed to have no religious influence. Two of the biggest benefactors are Adam and Eve.
Oh, wonderful.
Mm-hmm. It's a very on the nose, as it were. And a little while later, after all this shit's going down, after you find an actual fucking weapon, a revolver, my favorite weapon in the game, can be upgraded to hold 24 rounds, which is fucking ridiculous. You walk into a room and you hear a little girl talking, and Andrew, not Andrew. Andrew doesn't come into play until later. Alice lets you know, hey, would you kindly lower that weapon so you don't scare the little sister? And I have a picture here of why you shouldn't do that. So, boop. The little thing in the middle, that's the little sister.
Yeah.
Now,
I know what little sister is. Then you got Big Daddy on the
and then
left.
you got, so both of those things are actually Big Daddies.
Ah, I only knew about Big Sphere Boy.
Yeah, there's a couple of them. So, fun fact, by the way, the one on the left is called a bouncer. He's the one who's on the cover of the box art, and the normal version of it, you only ever fight once in the game, even though he's on the cover of the fucking box.
Huh.
Yeah. There are, like, way later in the game, an elite variant that are, like, heavily armored, but the original bouncer, you only ever fight once. Which is really weird to think about. And then I've got the, of course, the actual what they look like. But Little Sisters, what they are, here we go, is after they discovered that slug that gives them, that allows you to rewrite genetic code, they went, hey, turns out that after, like, the slug dies from this process. And it doesn't really produce a lot of it. What if we could make a way to harvest the atom back from corpses? And then they went, hey, we got a lot of orphaned little girls around here.
Oh boy.
What if we pry them open and put the slug in their body so they can process the atom? Now, it's not as bad as you think. The little girls are in fact indestructible, because of how much of the genetic the atom is pumping through their body. It literally makes them indestructible. The bad news is they are no longer human, in the theoretical sense anyway. They are pretty much brainwashed to only wander around the city and harvest atom from corpses. And there's two ways to get the atom from a little sister. One of we'll get into a little later. But the main way is to, they were cut open to put a slug in them, so you cut them open to get the slug out of them.
Ah.
Usually by breaking the neck, which is fucking horrible.
Fun.
The game runs on a morality system. You can either save the little sisters or you can harvest them. And the original depictions of what the quote-unquote gatherer was just going to be a big version of the slugs. And they found no one sympathized with the big version of the slug. So instead they made it, at first, actually a dog in a wheelchair. And then a little girl.
I'm sorry, dog in a wheelchair?
Yeah, they made a dog in a wheelchair. And they were like, okay. Yep, that's the gatherer. And then people were still not too keen on that one. They're like, all right, it's a child now. And they were like, now you got yourself a horrible situation. But yes, then you got the big daddies. The one on the left is called the bouncer. He is armed with a drill. And big daddies are encased in their diving suits. They're not allowed to leave. And they subside off of Adam from the little sister. It's like a symbiotic relationship. They will
Uh,
follow them around, and should the little sister get into trouble, the big papa's there to step in and start swinging with a drill hand. And don't let their size fool you. They close the distance quick. They are capable of just booking it across the floor. They're
that's
terrifying.
terrifying.
Yeah. And just in case a melee focus one wasn't bad enough, the Rosie has a modified rivet gun that was used for the construction of Rapture. They would just, put rivets in all the places so that way the city
Ah,
doesn't fall the fuck apart. They have a modified
see,
one
that's where
that
they
will
got their name
blast you
from.
across the room. Yeah. They will just blast you from across the room. It is terrifying. Now, the big daddies will not attack you unprovoked. If you go near the little sister, you're about to get your asshole torn out. But if you just give them a berth, they won't do anything. They're pretty passive on their own, actually.
Kind of like bears.
Kind of like bears, exactly. Just don't fuck with the cub, and you're fine. So that's the fun part. And you do get to see a one of the bouncers at work grabbing onto a splicer that tries to grab the little sister and smashing him through bulletproof glass. So that's fun.
Nice.
And then a little while later, you manage to get out of the entryway and into chapter 2, which is medical. And this has already been 15 minutes. Holy fuck.
Jesus
But that's
Christ.
fine. No, it's not going to be that long because it's all like everything crazy happens in the beginning. And then it's all just later. Later stuff, this game's story is great, except for like the last third. And then it's just like, huh? So, pretty much. It's literally like it builds up, it does all this stuff. There's the big twist, and it falls apart. But still a fun game. I love this game to pieces. One of my favorites. So, into the next area, a medical pavilion. And the only reason you had to go here, by the way, is because on your way here, they locked the city down, and Atlas was only able to get you as far as medical. And on the way to medical, Andrew tries to lock us down because, nothing really goes through the watchful eye of the leader of the city. And he finds us and he locks us down and he goes, okay, who the fuck sent you? Was it the KGB or was it the CIA? Because no one's supposed to know about this place, and you're here. Who are you? And then we run. In medical, we have to find our. It's this entire game is find a way through everything. In order to get through medical, we have to find Dr. Steinman because he has the key card to open the exit so we can fucking leave. And on the way to Steinman, we kind of discover a bit about him in and of himself. He is a doctor, or he was a doctor, who became obsessed with perfection to the point of killing his patients were they not perfect enough.
Of course.
Of course. Lovely. He states, upon meeting him, he states that one was too ugly, or one was too tall, one was too thin, and one was too symmetrical, which you would think would be a good thing. But apparently not, because they're fucking dead. And along the way, we find tonics, which are the other side of the plasmid coin. Plasmids give you more power. Tonics will give you that pep in your step. They're the genetic reinforcement. After killing Steinman, Atlas is happy that we did it because now no other spliced up psychopath is going to find him and be like, I want to be perfect too. And then just get killed outright by him. Not that they really have that much of self-preservation. And on the way back out, he says, we're ready to finally get our hands on some Adam, which means needing to take down a big daddy and get to a little sister. Luckily, Someone else has taken out a Big Daddy by some form of explosive and sends it hurtling through a wall, and we just walk into the next room.
That's convenient.
It really is. And in this next room, we meet a woman named Tenenbaum, who is the one who created the Little Sisters. And she's trying to save them now. Atlas goes over the radios for the area and says he's just trying to get a little bit of Adam, just enough to get by. And Tenenbaum says there is, in fact, another way to save him. And she gives you a plasmid, a specialized one, that will, instead of needing to kill the child to get the slug, it'll purge the slug from their body. So they won't be invincible anymore, but the child will go on. And Tenenbaum gives you this, and then the choice is yours on whether or not you kill the children or you save them. I don't have the heart to watch the harvest cutscene, so I always choose to save them. I don't know what that says about me, but something about breaking the neck of a small child really doesn't sit well with me.
Oh, why not?
Oh, I do. I fucking won. Oh, and I forgot to mention in medical, we also get our hands on a good old-fashioned Tommy gun, which is my favorite weapon in the game. Good rate of fire and 3 different ammo types, and also a 12-gauge shotgun, which is my favorite weapon in the game.
I thought you said Tommy gun was your favorite.
Nah, it's... The Tommy gun is my favorite, but the shotgun is my favorite. And also, the wrench is my favorite weapon in the game, and the revolver is my favorite gun in the game.
Wait, so what?
All of the weapons in Bioshock are just really fucking good. It's ridiculous. There's no fucking fall off like there is in other games. A lot of FPS games of the era, namely Half-Life and stuff like that, basically had a weapon trifecta or whatever, where there would be like 3 tiers of weapon, and each one replaces the last one. For example, in Half-Life and Half-Life 2, pistol gets replaced by SMG because it uses the same ammo pool, but it's a higher rate of fire. It may not do as much single shot damage, or I think in the first game, or in the first Half-Life it did. But Bioshock doesn't have that problem. No weapons share an ammo type, so you're always going to be using something, and they all fucking rock. Either way, on to the next area, Neptune's Bounty. In here, we meet a man named Peaches, or Peach Wilkins. And he controls... Peach. I actually have his little artistic representation here, which I have simply labeled...
Artistic representation?
Whatever you want to call it. I have simply labeled fruit.
Alright.
That's Peach Wilkins. He wears a welding mask. It's not even a joke. There you be. So Peach Wilkins tells us, if you want to get... he's like, I don't care how much this Atlas fella has vouched for you. I don't trust you, and I don't trust Atlas. Atlas showed up after Frank Fontaine, the old crime boss of Rapture, died. And Peach just doesn't trust him. But you know what? Fair stance to take.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's a fair stance to take. You wouldn't expect a mass-murdering psychopath to actually have opinions in this place, judging on what we've seen so far, but, you know, whatever. So he tells you, here's the deal. If you can get me a research camera and 3 pictures of what's known as a spider splicer, which is one of the enemy types in the game, which I will get into now as well, then he'll let you through. You know, no harm, no foul. Which is a fucking lie, by the way. He tries to kick your ass afterwards. It doesn't work. He even tries taking your weapons away, which doesn't really work when you have superpowers as well, and can just light the fucker on fire. So, this is the enemy roster in the game, the Splicers, as I call them. Splicers. There's 5 different kinds. So, you got the Thuggish Splicer, which is... Where are you? Here. I hate that this is sorting through alphabetical order, like a bastard. So you got the Thuggish Splicer, which is melee focus. You know, will run up and smack you. Later in the game, they're immune to electrical attacks, which is kind of a bitch. Then you got the leadhead splicer, which is your good old Schuster. They are pistols and then and then SMGs. And interesting thing about them, they're programmed for their first volley of fire to always miss you. Because if you get caught off guard by one, let's say your back is turned, the devs decided it wouldn't exactly be fair for you to just take a 32 special round in the back of the head. So they decided, hey, the first couple shots that they fire in combat will go around the player, so that way every time you... And the first time you play through it, you're never going to think of it. You're just going to be like, oh my god, thank god they missed. But after you know this fucking trick, every time it would happen, I'd be like, you son of a bitch, you fallen for my trap, and just fucking bam. It's so fun. They don't really have any other special things about them other than after that first volley, depending on the difficulty you're playing on, they can either continue missing you or become a crack shot. And it's ridiculous.
Wonderful.
Oh yeah, I love it. And then the third boy there is the Nitro Splicer. They carry grenades, and you can use another plasmid called telekinesis to throw the grenades back at them, which is absolutely hilarious. And they must have played a lot of Modern Warfare, the original Modern Warfare, because they have martyrdom. When you kill them, they will drop a grenade at their feet, which can really catch you off guard in certain situations. Like if you're trying to kill them with a shotgun, and then you hear the little fwee of a grenade as it blows up. They'll also drop smoke bombs if you get too close, but it doesn't do anything other than obscure your vision. So if you still know where they're at, you can just fucking blast them.
Hell yeah.
And then you got spider splicers. These boyos have hooks, and they will throw the hooks at you, and they will use them to climb along the ceilings, which is fucking terrifying. They will just,
like it.
Like in a combat situation, they will just like pop out of a vent and just be like, and then they're there, and you're like, oh, okay. But you can eat their hearts for medkits. The like first piece of research you get with that research camera that Peach wanted, which by the way you keep for yourself because Peach is, let's say, indisposed now as he's 6 feet under. The first upgrade, or one of the first upgrades you get, is that you get to use their organs for healing properties because of how much just atom is in them. They're so fucking dosed up on drugs that their own organs are like worth their weight in medical supplies. They're a walking blood bank.
Cannibalism.
Exactly. Just a little crunchy. And then the last one there, the most dangerous, is the Houdini Splicer. And the reason they're dangerous is because, as you can see from the real picture where he's on fire, they can actually use the plasmids as weapons. None of the other ones do. But they can just start throwing fireballs at you. And it's really fun when you think you're sneaking up on a leadhead splicer. Instead, that fucker turns around and throws a fireball at you. They can also teleport. Yeah. They will just warp around the battlefield. And all the enemies in this game...
Boy.
Oh, yeah, it's lovely. And all the enemies in this game have the same weak point, which is aim for the fucking head. Peach, before he dies, he tells us that the reason he's betraying us, after, we tried to help him and genuinely get to a place, Peach states that he did some digging while we were off getting the research camera, because all that was a goose chase. He just wanted time to find out who we were. And he gets pissed off because after we walk into his little area and we deposit all our weapons, which we'll get back soon, I hope, he yells at us for doing Fontaine's dirty work. But anything anyone else has told us is Fontaine's dead. And we haven't even talked to a Fontaine. We've talked to Atlas over the radio, and Tenenbaum, and now Peach. So, how the fuck have we been doing a dead man's handiwork?
Interesting.
It's interesting. It's gotta be the little sisters, man. And then, after, dealing with Peach and clearing through, we end up in a smuggler's hideout, which is where Atlas said he would meet us, and is where his family is. For getting there, I mean, flip a couple switches and the shortwave radio crackles to life. But it's not Atlas. Andrew Ryan has figured out how to get to us and begins talking to us. And he tells us, you did a good job there, helping him reach these people. Unfortunately, all of the splicers can be bought pretty easily if you just promise them money and Atom.
Oh boy.
So now all of the splicers in the city are pissed off at us and want to kill us under Andrew's payroll. And the submarine holding Alice's family explodes. So his family's dead. And Andrew Ryan implies as well that now that we have helped Atlas get this far, we will now know what it means to be Andrew Ryan's enemy. Which is not a good thing. So, heading into the next area, this entire game is just on one linear track, which is kind of crazy for a sprawling city. We head into Arcadia, which is basically the lungs of Rapture, because, big underwater city, they need trees to produce oxygen.
Yeah.
So
I suppose they would.
Arcadia is that. Arcadia houses most of the greenery. There's a couple like little shrubs here and there in the other places, but Arcadia is where all the oxygen is produced. And Andrew Ryan gets the brilliant idea of flooding all the trees with killer chemicals to kill them and, choke Rapture into a fucking
why
death.
not?
Why not? Except for the part where, Andrew Ryan is still in the fucking city, lunatic. There's easier ways to commit suicide.
Rulers are never smart.
They never are. Ryan has his moments, but it's few and far between. So we're going to have to, before we can go any further, we have to make sure those trees are fine. Because, if they die, fucking game over. Everyone's dead. And no saving anyone. So we have to enlist the help of someone named Julie Langford, who created something to... I forget what it's called. I should have written down what it was called. Why did I not write down what it was called? Dumbass. Anyway, we have to get I'm sure it'll come to me in like 5 minutes, and I'll be like, what was this? Julie made a type of serum for in case Andrew Ryan ever tried this, because she had a feeling he would, because she's probably the smartest person in this fucking city. So we go to seek her out, and Andrew Ryan decides to give us a nice little show and goes, hey, you want to see what this formula that kills trees can do? Watch what it does to poor Julie. And he fucking douses her office with it and kills her. So now all we have to go on is whatever notes she had lying around for the ingredients. Which is not a good thing. We also get a chemical thrower, which is my favorite weapon in the game. It's just your standard issue flamethrower, but it can also throw it throws napalm, it throws liquid nitrogen, and it can also throw electric gel, which is fun. And I also forgot, we also got a makeshift grenade launcher in Neptune's Bounty, which is also my favorite weapon in the game, because grenade launchers are funny. So
viewers, take a shot every time he says favorite weapon of the game.
Oh my god, wait till I do a video on Doom 2016. So yeah, we have to figure it out. And the only place we can find the ingredients is the farmer's market, which is next door. And I want to make a quick side note here. Every time I've played Bioshock in the past, except for when I played it for this run, I always remembered Arcadia as being this massive slog. Like, it took me hours to get through this one section of game. And I think all of that is just because I was stupid. Because it took me about 45 minutes. It took me about 45 minutes to clear this area, which I think is the fastest chapter that wasn't one of the two intros and the final boss. So, in order to get the formula set, we need bee enzymes from honeybees, which is apparently a thriving business down in Rapture, and distilled water.
Bees.
And we
Not the
need distilled
bees.
water. Not the bees! And we also need distilled water and then something else, which again, I forgot to write down because I'm an idiot. Oh, but I did actually find where I wrote down the formula. I did write it down before because I suck at taking notes, apparently. It's called the Lazarus vector. Again, there is no religious influence in this city away from everything.
Well, let's see. You got Adam, Eve, Lazarus,
The
and then
Rapture.
you got Greek mythology with Atlas.
Yeah. Man.
Yeah, no
Rapture is the
religious
end times.
ideology.
No religion at all. Pope's gonna pull up in his Pope mobile in a few. I swear. And we end up making the formula to save the city, or save this part of the city, I guess, for now. Andrew Ryan doesn't like that, and he gets pissy. And he ends up sending a bunch of splicers to kill us, which does not work. And then Andrew Ryan claims that we belong to Atlas. We don't belong to Atlas. We met him like 2 hours ago when he helped us get out of a fucking pod. We tried to help him find his family. That didn't work. Does that mean he owns us now? Shit. And then in the next area, we go in and the radio's going fucking crazy. Andrew Ryan's on one end, yelling about his ideals and how he's going to kill us and how he's going to kill Atlas and how pissed off he is. And Atlas is on the other end, yelling about his ideals and how he's going to kill Andrew Ryan and he's going to get out of all this. And then the radio shuts off. And the bathysphere to the next area, which was close, goes down. Which is, kind of difficult to get to underwater when you're already underwater. That pressure's going to be strong. You'll fucking die. And a big old rabbit mask floats down. Or it's on a slide or whatever. And a man pops up on your radio, new voice, named Sander Cohen, who is an artist. And I've got a little representation of him.
There's an artist.
There's an artist. He's an artist. Sander Cohen. And he's not just that pasty for show, as you can see from his official model. He's doing whiteface.
Oh my!
He's already a white dude.
That is.
He's
creepy.
terrifying, but he means well. He controls the bathysphere in and out of Fort Frolic, which is why Atlas was trying to shovel us through as fast as possible. He was like, "What? Fort Frolic, cool, you seen it. Keep fucking moving before you get stuck here so you can kill Andrew Ryan." But now that's not working because there's jammers everywhere. And Cohen lets us know that he just wants to have a conversation and see what we're about. See what makes us so interesting that the two current biggest names in Rapture are fighting over us. He wants to know why. So Cohen says he has nothing but respect for Andrew Ryan, but he will let you go if you just help him out with his art, because he wants to see in action what makes you so good. What he doesn't mention is that his art is actually hunting down his old disciples and killing them and putting their pictures on his wall. He's not as sane as he originally tried to make us think.
All right.
Yes. He's he's a little fucking cracked out. But I feel like that much white paint, I'm not sure if it's actually paint or if it might be cocaine. Like, he just straight up had a brick of it and just bang, straight down. And he gives us, to help us with the task, a crossbow firing steel bolts, which is my favorite weapon in the game.
Yes.
A nice little a well-placed headshot will down any splicer. So it's pretty good for starting off an engagement with. And if you're good with your shots, you can, and the atrocious iron sights this game offers, you can get a couple more in there. Bioshock's iron sights have not aged well because the entire gun model keeps wiggling around like a fucking lunatic while you're trying to aim, and it takes your reticle away. It doesn't just do a zoom. It's like, no, we're gonna zoom and we're gonna wiggle, and it's like it's hard to line a shot when the barrel of my pistol is pointing at my feet. While we're here, we find while we're hunting good old Cohen's disciples. I pushed a button. Did that do anything? I don't think so. I think we're good. Okay.
Nope.
Whew. While we're going around, we find out a little bit more about Andrew Ryan and stuff like that. It turns out he had a romantic relationship with a stripper named Jasmine Jolie, who has pinups all over the place in this part of the city. And apparently everyone knew about it because on all the pinups it is literally says as her tagline, Andrew Ryan's #1 gal. So everyone just knew that they were fucking. Jasmine ended up pregnant, but sold the baby because she was desperate for money. And she sold the baby to Frank Fontaine and Tenenbaum. Back when Fontaine was alive. Because she was desperate for money. And then I think it's implied Andrew Ryan killed her. I don't fully remember. I didn't write about it, so that could just be me speaking. And after you take care of the disciples for Sander Cohen, after one of which, by the way, you bring him the picture, and he gets pissed off at you and goes, nah, you're a fucking hack, and tries to kill you, and then goes, I'm sorry, my temper got the better of me. Please continue. Because he's a goddamn sociopath. I love him. He's my favorite character in the game. He's so fucking funny. But after taking care of that, he gives you the key to a safe he has as well, in good tidings, because he's like, hey, I trapped you here, I took you away from your goal. You can have whatever's in this chest, and I'll let you leave. And you do have the option to fight him. I chose not to, because I was playing on the hardest difficulty, and I didn't feel like getting my ass kicked by a boss. So, you leave. And Atlas finally gets a hold of you on the radio again. He says, would you kindly leg it to Hephaestus Core to settle a score with Ryan? And Hephaestus, by the way, another fucking Greek name.
Yep.
God damn it. So, you head into the Hephaestus, and Atlas comes up over that goddamn radio again. Because when you have a game with a silent protagonist, and I do not blame Bioshock for this at all, because its story is well written and, it's really well done. It's really hard to kind of portray a conversation and objective with a silent protagonist without having people just constantly telling you what to do. Even Doom 2016 fell to it.
Yeah. That's kind of how Destiny was for the longest time until I think like year 3 of Destiny 2.
Mm-hmm. When you have a character who will not actively participate in conversation, or you cannot hear their thoughts, it's just a thing with game design. I don't blame Bioshock for it at all. I don't blame any game for it. It's just a thing that happens when you want to tell this grand story, but also have that little bit of introspective where the player feels like the character. The player will have the thoughts their character will have, but the problem is everyone's telling you what to do. Namely Atlas. Yep. So Atlas hails you on the radio again. He says, would you kindly head to Ryan's office and kill the son of a bitch? Which is a lot easier said than done. Because Andrew has a lot of security. So in order to do that, we have to blow up Hephaestus Core, which is one of the big power plants for the whole goddamn city.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. So Andrew starts calling us a lot more during this part of the game, and telling us different little things he found out about. And he's like, Alice is the leader of a group of parasites, right? Like, all the people he commands, all the people he controls, they are all the people who drove this city to what it currently is and what it was not supposed to be. So it might be possible that we might be in a little bit too deep. And Andrew points out how coincidental it is that our plane crashed near this lighthouse. Because, a plane happens to crash near a secret lighthouse leading to a secret city. Like,
yeah.
Was it crashed, or did someone else have something to do with that? Were you just unfortunate circumstance of everything that happened? And someone, as it turns out, was making a nuclear fucking bomb in Hephaestus core. So we get to finish putting that together, because that's a great idea. Let's detonate a nuke in the giant underwater city and see what happens right next to the power core.
Should be fine.
It should be fine. And granted, it does work. And it does shut down the security in Andrew Ryan's office, as well as probably to the entire fucking city for a good 10, 20 minutes. And Andrew lets us know. He tells us all these feelings you are feeling, everything you have towards this city, none of it is a new experience. This is nostalgia for you. That's the feeling you're getting. It's also implied that Jack has fought in World War II. So he's kind of pointing out, like, a new battlefield. This is not new. This is, what this is. And he lets us know that Atlas is going to backstab us, as Atlas has backstabbed everyone else. And we go into Rapture Central Control, which is where Andrew Ryan's office is located. And as we're going through, Ryan decides the best course of action is to wire the remaining power cores in the city to blow the fuck up. Because he figures, you know what? If I'm going to die, I am making sure everyone else in this city is gone. Of course. And as we creep through the central control, wiggle through a couple vents to make sure we can't get in, because doors are still locked. He can't really EMP a fucking good old padlock.
Yeah.
Little hard to do. We drop into a room. And this room has pictures of Jack in it, which is the main character. And on the wall, scrawled in red ink, is the 3 words, "Would you kindly?" And you find a voice diary, which there's plenty of in Rapture, but, it's all... A lot of the story is told directly to you. A lot of the main story is. You find a audio diary where a young boy is handed a puppy by a Dr. Suchong. And he says, "Thank you, Papa Suchong, for the dog." And the doctor says, "You like him, don't you?" The boy says, "Yes." And Suchong goes, "Good. Wring his neck."
I had a feeling that was going
Kid's
somewhere
like,
dark.
"What?" And Dr. Suchong goes, "Wring the puppy's neck." And the kid goes, "No, I'm not wringing his neck." And Suchong goes, "Wring his neck, would you kindly?" And you hear over the audio as the boy, through fits of tears, has no choice but to obey and kill the dog. "Would you kindly," as Andrew Ryan points out a few minutes later as well, is a trigger phrase. And Atlas has been saying it to us this entire damn time.
Shit.
"Would you kindly pick up the shortwave radio? Would you kindly find a crowbar or something? Would you kindly leg it to Andrew Ryan's office and kill the son of a bitch?" Atlas has been playing us like a damn fiddle. And also, somehow, we have the fucking code in our head. What the hell is going on? So we go to confront Ryan. The man, the myth himself, which I have a little picture of. This is Andrew Ryan. He's just kind of a little squiggly bitch, which he is. It is factually correct. And here he is as well.
Uh-huh.
His real model. He reveals everything. All of the memories we have, which Jack does have a couple flashbacks to an old house and a family and stuff, they're not real. That's all just implanted memories. The plane crash, the present that Jack has in the beginning of the game, was actually labeled with a note that said, "Would you kindly not open until these coordinates?" and had a revolver inside. So once we reached the coordinates, Jack grabbed the revolver with no choice but to obey and hijacked and brought the plane down. This game was made after 9/11, by the way. And they had the balls to fucking do that. Good on you, developers. I'm happy with that one.
That's ballsy.
Oh, yeah, that's a tough one. Atlas has been controlling us the entire time. And it's not really revealed, but I'm going to say it anyway because I know what happened. So, Atlas, the child that Jasmine Jolene sold to Fontaine and Tenenbaum, that was Jack. Jack, the character you're playing as, is 4 years old. Somehow. He's just so wired up on so many different plasmids and different tonics and stuff like that, which they experimented on him and hid him outside of Rapture, that he is the physique of an adult male in peak physical condition, because you are carrying all these weapons. You are like, you move fast. You are faster. You are more accurate than any of the splicers. You are just hyped up on so many different kinds of genetic enhancements that there's really no stopping you at this point. And Andrew Ryan tells us, he gives you a demonstration, run, would you kindly, walk, would you kindly, stop. And he goes, a man chooses, a slave obeys. And he hands you a golf club, the one he has in that picture. And he says, kill, would you kindly? And you hit him with the club. And he keeps yelling at you about how a man chooses and a slave obeys. And he just yells, obey. And you hit him with the club. Andrew Ryan is dead. And Atlas yells over the radio after he dies, would you kindly grab his genetic key and plug it into the machine? And we still have the code in our head. We have no choice but to obey. And the only other option is to turn the fucking game off. And it's like, it's not really a choice in the story of things. So Atlas, even though we know at this point he's not on our side. He's been pretending he was this entire time. He's been playing us like a damn fiddle. We still have no choice but to listen to him and put Andrew Ryan's genetic key in the machine. And Atlas just starts laughing. And he reveals, the city has been afraid of a boogeyman named Frank Fontaine, who supposedly died in some gang shooting years ago. They confirmed the body. Except they didn't. They confirmed a dummy. Because in Rapture, you can change yourself. Atlas is Frank Fontaine. He just made himself Irish for some reason, which was an odd choice. And a different physique than everyone would recognize him. So Fontaine dies in this shooting, and all of a sudden Atlas came in and was like, all right, here's what we're going to do to get back at Ryan. And started pulling the strings. No one knew where the fuck he came from, how he knew all this. He was just some new blood. But he was damn good. Atlas reveals himself as Frank Fontaine. And he, starts lighting the city up. Starts flooding Ryan's office with security, saying, we have no more use to him. He's done. And, but lucky for us, he didn't just order us to stay, which would have forced us to stay and get gunned down. He just says, so long. So we still have at least a little bit of free will, and we use that to escape by the help of some little sisters, which were sent by Tenenbaum. Tenenbaum, who was the one who assisted with all the genetic manipulation done to Jack. She does feel guilt for it, and undoes at least the would you kindly. So anytime he says, "Would you kindly?" that's no longer going to work. And I do have a picture of Tenenbaum with all the little sisters you've saved. They are fucking everywhere. It's actually adorable. You can eat one's candy bar and it freaks the fuck out. It's hilarious. So there's Tenenbaum. And then where is... Here it is. Bam. And that's her little place with all the little sisters you've saved, the ones who are alive.
Ah.
And, she says, there's no way to... I undid... Tenenbaum tells you, I undid the mind control, but I'm sure Fontaine has other safeguards that were put into you. So she writes down, or she lets us know, you have to find Dr. Suchong, the other one who did the genetic manipulation on the child, who fucking broke the puppy's neck. She says, you have to find his apartment. He'll have any of the answers you seek. I cannot help you any further. And as you walk out, Fontaine comes over the radio and he goes, huh, how the fuck are you alive? Won't be for long. Would you kindly go get stepped on by a Big Daddy? Those are the actual words he used because Big Daddy had a very different meaning as well as stepped on back in 2007.
Yeah. Times have changed.
Times have changed, and unfortunately that is no longer a safe sentence. But it doesn't work. We still have the same objective to, find Suchong's apartment. And Fontaine's confused as fuck, and he goes, maybe you didn't hear me. I said, would you kindly go get stepped on by a Big Daddy? And he goes, okay. So the crowd, Tenenbaum is German, by the way.
Well, yeah.
You could probably tell from the name. She was a esteemed German scientist during World War II and managed to get out of all of World War II without a scratch, which is why she was recruited to Rapture, because they were like, hey, you're a genius scientist. Come experiment with us. So Fontaine tells us, you know what? It's not the only trick I've got. Code Yellow. And what Code Yellow does is tells our brain to tell our heart to stop beating. So all of a sudden we're on a clock. And he even says, he goes, look, it won't happen instantly. Because that heart, that's a stubborn organ. But you'll notice the changes. And in gameplay terms, this just means every, 10, 15 minutes-ish, you'll lose a chunk of your max life. Because your heart's not beating. Which, if you haven't been speccing into life, oh boy, are you in for a rough one all of a sudden. So we race through the city, or this part of the city, called Olympus Heights. Again, there's no religious influence in this city at all. And as we go through, we do manage to find one dose. And that first dose we take, perfect. That'll fix us. No, it won't. It stops the whole heartbeat problem, but now our plasmids are out of whack. And we can't actually select our plasmids. We don't have the mental fortitude to, concentrate on one at a time. So the game will just shuffle through them, including ones you don't have. It'll just be like, all right, by the way, security bullseye. You know that one you fucking hate that's so goddamn useless? You got it now, partner.
Oh, boy.
And then you head to Apollo Square to hunt down the second dose. Apollo. Again, there is no religious influence in Rapture. I'm getting very tired of saying this sentence. I love this game, but my God, Andrew Ryan's a fucking moron. No religion. Ooh, religion. Like, come on, man. Fontaine, after we find the second dose of what's known as Lot 192, that's all it's known by. No one ever figured they would have to use it, so fuck it, why give it a name? We discover two things. Suchong is dead. He is impaled on an operating table in one of his little fucking fake labs by a Big Daddy's drill. So he got whatever was coming to him. And the other thing is, Fontaine is tracking us. He's keeping an eye on our progress. Probably because, he genetically engineered us to be a walking weapon, and now we are understandably pissed off at him. So he might want to keep a tab on us. And he tells us, you know what? You wanna throw down, you wanna be a big man? Hook it to Point Prometheus. Prometheus.
Oh boy.
Again. No religious influence. He says, hoof it to Point Prometheus, and you and I will fight it out. And then Point Prometheus. We walk in the door. Fontaine takes 2 shots at us and then realizes that maybe, fighting a walking weapon is a bad idea, and he shoots a fuse on the door and runs away. And he sprints through what's known as the Proving Grounds, and the only way to get into the Proving Grounds is to be a Big Daddy, which we aren't. We're a man. Genetically altered as fuck, but still a man. So Tenenbaum suggests a brilliant idea. Just become a Big Daddy. It's that simple. It's a one-way trip, yes. But it's that simple. So you have to go through the entirety of the process. You have to find all the parts to a suit. And this is the only part in the game where you find an item like this, but when you pick up the Big Daddy's bodysuit, it gives you a 25% damage reduction to all damage types, which is amazing, seeing as we're in like the end stretch. But it's the only item of the game that does anything like that. Even the other Big Daddy suit pieces don't do shit. Like, what the fuck? And then after that, we need to pick up pheromones as well to make sure we smell like a Big Daddy. So that way the little sisters will trust us through genetic manipulation. And we head through the Proving Grounds. And this is where everything starts coming together. We have to escort the little sisters through the Proving Grounds, and Tenenbaum sends us ones that have been saved, because she goes, the children you have saved, they trust you. So even though like they're using the pheromones to find where you're at and pinpoint your location and everything, they're looking for the mix of the Big Daddy's pheromones with whatever other splicer pheromones you already have. They will find you, but it shows how much their minds are broken. Because when you go through the Proving Grounds, they're still stopping to harvest Adam, even though they don't even have the slug in them anymore. There's no reason for them to harvest Adam. They just are. They're as choiceless as we were in the entirety of the game. They, even though they do very well, or may very well have a choice, they don't feel like it. They just go ahead and harvest Adam. And I almost made it through this section in the game in my first attempt with the little sister, except a stray fucking grenade, or no, not a stray grenade. A stray security drone blew up near her and killed her. 2 seconds before she walked through the fucking door. And I had to go get another one. I was pissed.
Gotta love those stray grenades.
I was like, she'll be fine. I was like, there's the door. I just need to get her up this little ramp. And then something blew up next to me. And I was like, you son of a bitch. Like, and after you get through, one of the little sister climbs through one of the vents they use to get around Rapture, and turns around and hands you the little Adam draining syringe that the little sisters use to drain Adam. Because Fontaine's not going to play fair. He's probably got something planned. But if we can drain the Adam from something, that'll definitely give us an edge. And we head into the final chapter called Fontaine. Fontaine decided that in the meantime of us, chasing his ass all throughout the fucking Proving Grounds, he got a brilliant idea. I'm going to inject myself with so much Adam, I will become a god. And he becomes
no religion.
No, Fontaine.
Right.
Ryan was the one who made the city with no religion. Fontaine's just a fucking twit. So he becomes Discount Dr. Manhattan. And here's a little picture of that. I think that's my favorite picture I've done.
Hey,
It's
how come
so
there's a black
fucking
bar
funny.
there?
Well, I'll show you why there's a black bar. Here's the actual picture. You'll notice there's nothing there, but I still felt it in good taste to cover him up. So he literally injected himself with so much Adam that he becomes this. And we have no choice but to fight him. He's still hooked up to the machine, so we use the little sister syringe to drain Adam from him. And he teleports down because he has that one that the Houdini splicers had and starts trying to fight us. And it is not a one-on-one fight. It is for the first part, and then he calls in security drones and then a bunch of splicers because he's a goddamn coward. But in the end of the day, he goes down like anyone else does, just a lot fucking harder and with a lot more Adam drained out of him. And after you do this 3 times, or you fight him 3 times and drain the Adam, because, you know, good old rules of 3, he actually grabs you and throws you to the ground. And he says, I implanted those memories in your head. I raised you from nothing. I gave you this chance to do everything. If that's not family, I don't know what is. And then a little sister jumps him with her syringe. And then another little sister jumps him with her syringe. And then a lot of little sisters jump them with their syringe. And they all drain every ounce of Adam he has in him out. Which, you know, fucking kills him. Because it turns out genetic manipulation is really dangerous when all the genetically manipulated parts aren't genetically manipulated anymore. Whole guy just falls apart. And so that's the end of the game. And Jack, it ends. There's 3 endings. There's a good ending, a neutral ending, and a bad ending. I got the good ending because I saved every little sister. Because again, I cannot bring myself to fucking wring the neck of a child. But the good ending is Jack saving all the little sisters from a life of slavery and mindless obedience, where they never would have had a chance to grow up. He gives them the chance to have a life. He gives them the chance to have a family. They offer him the key to the city, and he refuses. He doesn't want that. He takes the little sisters and Tenenbaum as well, I think, and they go up to the surface. They get rescued by a passing ship, and they all have the chance to live happily ever after. And then Bioshock 2 happens because the city lives and there's a bunch of other fucking stuff. But that's a video for another time. And the entire game just kind of hinges on the fact of, what are you going to do? Are you going to be a hero and save everyone? Or are you going to be are you going to end up dooming the city? In the bad ending of the game, Jack takes a bunch of splicers up to the surface. And when a passing submarine comes by to see if they need help, they open the bathysphere, kill the crew, and hijack the submarine, and then hijack a military-grade nuclear submarine because the military doesn't have access to plasmids. So all of a sudden, Jack gets access to actual fucking nukes. And that's the end of Bioshock. Until the sequel. It's an interesting game. It's one of my favorite games of all time. In terms of gameplay, it may not hold up as well as I wish it did, but it's still like, I had a blast playing through it again. I'll probably
It
have
sounds like it's well written.
It's very well written. I basically just went over the cliff notes, but there's a lot of other stuff you can find in there. I don't know if I will do a video on the sequel, Bioshock 2, because Bioshock 2 is not as good of a game. In terms of gameplay, it is better. In terms of story, it is lacking. I might do one on Bioshock Infinite, though.
That kind of happens with sequels.
It does. Infinite's really good, though. Infinite has pretty good gunplay and a very, very fun story. So maybe I'll do one on that. But, as always, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Loosely Canon. And next time, Grimz will be hosting. What will you be hosting, Grimz?
I think I'm going to cover the expansions of Destiny 1.
Very interesting. I can't wait to hear how that plays out. Thank you all so much for watching, and we will see you next time.
See you.